Over the weekend, there was a Smash Brothers Ultimate tournament by the name of Cirque du CFL number 3. And one of the main things that people have been discussing about that tournament these past couple of days since it happened was the commentary. There are two topics that are relating to commentary. The first one being the quality of the commentary, the professionalism of commentating during a tournament, and also another discussion that was sparked up through a tweet sent out by ArbiterSkyward. In this video, I'm not really going to be commenting about the professionalism or what I think about the commentary itself during Cirque du CFL 3. In this video, I'm more so going to be talking about what the conversation was that was sparked up by this tweet sent out by ArbiterSkyward. To give you guys a little bit of a history, ArbiterSkyward is a very notable commentator within the Smash Brothers community. He is well known for his hype, sort of over-the-top commentary style, but he also knows when to find that middle ground and to actually give insightful takes on the game. So I'm really fond of his commentary style. A lot of people say that it's very genuine, that it's very exciting, that it brings a lot of passion to the game. And overall, I've heard nothing but good things about him as a person. I feel like a lot of people have genuine and really positive experiences with him, and I definitely do feel for him, especially due to the fact that some of the responses might seem a little bit harsh in a situation where I know he didn't mean any ill will. So starting off, I did mention earlier that this whole conversation really sparked up over the weekend of Cirque number 3, but this conversation has been something that Arbiter has been sort of discussing or toying around with since November of last year. On November 17th of 2023, Arbiter sent out a tweet saying, "I think I'm going to start commentating for free. I don't really do it for the money anyway, and I don't want TOs to think they can't afford me. I just want to visit more places and go to even more events. I think I'll enjoy commentating more this way as well." He follows that tweet by saying, "And it's not a hiring issue or anything like that, but I remember I had a lot more fun casting Smash when I was doing it for free. I also want to go to more regionals in different states and eventually go overseas too." So again, this tweet was sent out in November of last year, and there really wasn't any big discussion, or there wasn't really any positive or negative feedback. It was just something that he sent out. Nothing really came out of it. Nobody really batted an eye, right? And so to jump forward a little bit, we are now in 2024. This tweet was put out in March 11th, and this was after the weekend of Cirque du CFL. Arbiter says, "Cirque was the first major that I've commentated without receiving any payment. I asked the TO not to, and I honestly loved it. Just wanted to do it for the experience of being in a new region for the first time. Is its own reward, for me at least. Might do it more often." So initially, I remember seeing this tweet and not really thinking too much of it. I think I might have even liked this tweet just because I didn't really see it as anything negative. I saw it as him having a positive experience with not having to do it. He offered his services for free, and he just had fun, you know, promoting the event and being there, maybe bringing some more notoriety to the event. And again, he is a pretty notable commentator within the scene now. But immediately, the commentary community, it wasn't even just Smash Brothers commentators, but more so just commentators within the eSports scene, they all came out and they voiced their opinion about this sort of mindset, this mindset of offering your services, your commentary services for free to these tournaments. One of the notable responses that I saw came from Vicky Kitty, and if you guys aren't familiar with Vicky Kitty is another really popular, really notable, really looked up to commentator within the Smash Brothers scene, but has also expanded their works to things like Overwatch and as well as Apex Legends. Vicky Kitty responds to Arbiter's Cirque recap tweet by saying, "This is the most Smash tweet I've seen in a hot minute. For any fellow casters who knows about the state of esports right now, this is not a good thing and could snowball negatively for the entire talent in a scene." For those of you guys who don't really keep up with esports and layoffs, there's been a lot of situations like that where big established teams are dropping games, they're dropping teams, they're dropping people, and there's been a lot of layoffs, and the energy right now is not really in the most positive state. And with the game like Smash Brothers, and I keep mentioning Smash Brothers because that is the game that Arbiter is providing his services for currently, Smash Brothers is a very grassroots sort of game. The developers of the game, Nintendo, they don't really provide any financial support for it, so it's up to the community to create events, to put in their own money, to sort of keep the game alive essentially. Under Vicky Kitty's response to Arbiter, Darren Almy Killer Pigeon responded by saying, "100% this. If you got a boatload of money and thus don't need to be paid, good for you. Give the TOs a rate and just donate the money to charity afterwards. It's horrible to see people devaluating a skill set in an industry where it's already hard enough to make a living." I definitely understand where Darren is coming from. I feel like the art and sort of the skill set that you have to be a commentator, it definitely is very high up there, and I feel like a lot of people undervalue it or take it for granted. A lot of the memorable moments in esports, regardless of the game, are made by these commentators. If you remove the passion and the knowledge that these commentators have, at the end of the day, you're just watching gameplay, and that's not always the most exciting. Under Vicky Kitty's initial response to Arbiter, Angry Crazy Zebra says, "Arbiter has a good heart. He didn't intend to create something negative for other people. He wanted to just create something positive for himself. himself. Vicky Kitty then responds by saying, I figure it's not with malicious intent. That's why I DM'd him to explain why and how it hurts the talent in the scene, but he didn't reply. TLDR, charity work sets a precedent that inevitably hurts all of their talent, and I feel like it's even worse in a grassroots scene. And I think it's very important to really emphasize the fact that Smash Brothers as a whole, regardless if it's Melee, if it's 64, or especially now if it's Ultimate, it's very much grassroots. It's very much a game that does not have any developer support. The developer constantly is attempting to really put away people and really tell people, we do not want you to play this game competitive, and we're going to make it very difficult for you to do so. And thus the community has to kind of come together, create these teams, give players opportunities, create these big tournaments with these prize pools, all out of pocket to keep the game alive. Another esports commentator by the name of Max, or Keck Shouts on Twitter, which simply says, horrible advice. Under Max's response to Arbiter, we have a person by the name of Baron that says, I'm curious, if someone with this approach to commentating were to accept a normal pay rate, but send all the pay to a charity or something, would that be satisfactory? It seems that would satisfy both hobbyists and paid professionals, right? All are getting paid as they should. And that's something that I've seen in this entire discussion is people saying, okay, so why don't we just have people accept the pay and then donate the money to a charity if they really don't want to take that cut? Max then responds to Baron by saying, once you're paid, you can do what you want with your money. The issue is that purposely not getting paid undercuts other casters who needs that money and sends the message to the TOs that they can pay casters less / not at all if others are willing to do it for free. And this response from Max really encapsulates the snowball effect that Vicky Kitty was initially referring to. The snowball effect being the fact that you're going to have these commentators who are potentially going to be inspired by what Arbiter is doing, and they're going to essentially do the same thing. Thus, you're creating a pool of people who are not really interested in the money, that they're going to provide their services for free, and you're going to have the other pool of people who are already well established within the scene who potentially really need the money. They're going to be overshadowed by the fact that, hey, if you're a tournament TO, if you're hosting a tournament, you're looking for casters to cast during the stream or whatever, you're going to immediately turn your eye to the people that are not going to charge you at all, right? Because you're going to save your money, you're going to be able to save it for another event, or just do what it is that you're going to be able to do if you were to hire a commentator and spend your money there. After Vicky Kitty's response to Arbiter's initial post, Arbiter says, I didn't even do anything, LMAO, I love Twitter. And this is where I definitely feel for him. I think that Twitter is very much a cesspool of people that really want to take people down. Unfortunately, it's very easy to get caught up in the negative, and it's very easy for people to just, you know, use those Twitter fingers to say all these random things and to say all these mean things about a certain individual without really even thinking about it. So I definitely do feel for him, and it's a situation where I would feel like I didn't even mean any ill intent and I'm getting absolutely flamed for it, right? Under Arbiter's I didn't do anything response to Vicky Kitty's post, Codpilled responds by saying, respectfully, if a bunch of casters are like, hey, this is a bad precedent to set, at least try and understand their perspective rather than LOL, I didn't do anything. Arbiter then responds by saying, nah, this isn't something anyone can argue with me on. It's my decision to do things how I want. As long as I'm not fucking with anyone, casters should get paid if they want, and they should. But no one, despite how much influence they have, is telling me how I do things. On one hand, I can't help but respect Arbiter for saying, hey, you know what? This is how I'm gonna do things. This is how I'm gonna run my life, and I'm not gonna let anybody tell me how to do things. It very much takes a very heavy set to just stand on business and say, hey, you know what? I don't care what anybody's saying. I am determined to do things my way, and I'm going to continue to do it my way. And on the other hand, it definitely does come off a little bit hard-headed. It seems like he's not open to take any suggestions. He's not open to take any feedback from what people are saying. And again, these are people within the scene that are commentators on many different levels. And so people are just saying, hey man, like, we're trying to give you advice. You clearly don't want to hear it. And it could set a pretty negative precedent if you continue to promote it in the way that you're doing it, right? We then have MVD, a pretty notable professional player within Smash Brothers, stepping in, giving his 2 cents by saying, you doing this is fucking with people, which is the point. You could be the direct reason why someone else doesn't get hired because they filled a slot for free. Arbiter then responds by saying, people offer to pay me all the time. Hell, the Cirque TOs did, and I just declined it. I'm not fucking with anyone. That's an insecure way of going about things. This is just going to be something that we disagree on because I'm not changing my stance on it. MVD, just like some other people that I mentioned earlier, is just sort of pointing out the fact that, hey, if you do this, you could potentially set a negative precedent, and we're just trying to help you realize that, and it seems like you're not getting it. And again, Arbiter, again, just putting his foot down saying, you know what, we're not going to agree on this at all because I'm not changing my opinion. This is just how I'm going to do things, and so bad, so sad, essentially, right? We then have Momo on the mic stepping in and giving his opinion on things, and Momo is definitely one of those people that I feel like could be potentially more affected in a situation like this. Momo, very much an up-and-coming commentator, definitely has made a name for himself, but is definitely trying to reach greater heights and trying to put himself out there more to show the people his talents. So we have Momo saying, no one is accusing you of doing this to be malicious. That's not the point. It's great that you want to cast and don't need to be paid to do so, but in doing this as a high-level caster, you're unintentionally setting a bad precedent for casters who do want to be paid. We then have MVD responding to Momo by saying, like, imagine if HBox, Hungrybox just wanted to cast a major top 8 and offered to do it for free. Suddenly someone is getting screwed over. It's the same concept, even if it's not being done with malintent. And yeah, that is probably one of the best ways to put it, I feel like. Imagine if you're running a tournament, you are potentially on the verge of getting this really potentially career-defining opportunity, but then we have a very more notable person than you offering their services for free. And again, it's going to be a name that people are going to be able to recognize. People are going to be able to potentially buy tickets, be a little bit more enticed to attend or watch this event because this certain individual is attending and they're doing their services for free. Then someone who could have potentially needed the money a little bit more, who really wanted to put themselves out there, who really wanted to showcase their skills and their talent and their knowledge about whatever game it is that they're being casting for. And then I could definitely see how it could potentially affect certain individuals. MVD's main response to Arbiter was, I mean, you are theoretically taking a job from someone for the sake of being free since you don't need the money. It's great that you're able to do that and not care, but that's not the case for everyone who may be trying to make a living off esports commentary. And again, I feel like commentary is very overlooked at times, really underappreciated at times. Without commentary, we would not have these best commentary compilations, right? Some of the more notable, some of the more funny moments in esports are thanks to the commentators. After all that discourse and all the discussion, Arbiter then puts out another tweet saying, I'm not in trouble and this will just pass through after a couple hours, so I'ma just leave it alone. And the responses were pretty positive. I feel like a lot of people really did support Arbiter with his decision. Again, I don't think that Arbiter meant any ill will. He was just taking a look at his situation, knowing that, hey, I have a good job, and this is something that he's mentioned previously. I have a job that pays me well. I'm able to support myself. I'm able to afford going to these events, offering my services for free, and it makes me feel good about it, so I'm just going to keep on doing it. Again, I don't think that he meant any ill will, any malintent towards it, but again, it's just one of those things where it's not something that people universally think, right? Or really necessarily saw as something positive for the community as a whole, and we're potentially scared of the precedent that it might set for any up and coming commentators. Arbiter then comes back shortly thereafter and says, I'll make this the last thing I say about this whole thing. Yes, commentators should get paid for their talent. I personally am just trying to do it as a hobby so I can find enjoyment in it again. I think it's whack that people are taking it out of context when I wasn't trying to start any issues. Jorby, or Jorby Please on Twitter, responds to Arbiter's tweet by saying, you taking free gigs has an effect on other commentators trying to get paid work, whether you want it or not. It's nice that you want to do it as a hobby, but many of us work hard to do this for a living, and it's hard enough to do that in today's climate. And as I mentioned earlier, esports is not really in a situation where the return is super great. You know, it very much takes a lot of dedication, a lot of, you know, outside sourcing, a lot of outside funding for it to work. And if you're a company that runs an esports organization, you want to make sure that your bottom line isn't affected too much, then at times people within esports are the first that are going to be affected. Arbiter, after all this, responds by saying, bruh, I'm just sad, LMAO, but then quickly bounces back by saying, enough of that, we back. To wrap everything up, just to give my personal opinion on things, I think that, once again, like I mentioned previously, I don't think that Arbiter is a bad dude by any means. I definitely don't think that this will change my perception of him and the good sort of personality that I think he has. I think he just saw his situation. He said, hey, you know what? I can afford to provide my services for free. I want to get myself out there more. I want to show the world what I am capable of when it comes to showing my commentary skills. And so he's going to do what's best for him. He's just looking out for himself. He's trying to get that passion once again to commentate and to really keep the spark alive. And on the other hand, I do understand where all these other esports commentators are coming from. You know, you have someone who is pretty notable within the scene saying that they're going to offer their services for free, and it could definitely set a precedent of, hey, I want to put myself out there. I'm going to offer my services for free. And in a result of that, you could potentially have TO say, hey, why spend money on someone to commentate when this person is just wanting wanting to offer their services for free. Maybe it's potentially someone pretty notable, maybe someone who doesn't need the money. But again, there's always going to be that person that really does need that money, who it could potentially change the course of their lives, who is potentially being overshadowed by someone with a little bit more following, who is pretty much well known because they're doing it for free. This is a pretty complicated thing, but if you guys want to let me know what you guys think in the comments, feel free to do so. I'm really interested to see what the response is from the community. There's a lot of different people on many different sides, people really respecting and understanding where Arbiter is coming from. And again, I definitely do see where they're coming from. And there's also people trying to find a resolution to the situation by offering the whole, maybe they should get paid, but then they donate the money to charity sort of thing. And once again, make sure you leave a comment letting me know what you think about this whole situation, whether you think you come up with a solution or just try to figure out a middle ground with this whole thing. If you want to see more videos in this sort of style where I cover certain topics within esports, within Smash Brothers, I would love to do so. Make sure you slap a like, share it with your friends, do all that good stuff. And make sure you subscribe, hit that notification bell so that you don't miss any future uploads. That's gonna do it for me, guys. Please take care, stay safe. You guys are amazing, you guys are beautiful. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. Have yourselves a damn good one. Bye.